Sometimes when I make apologies, it goes over well, and sometimes it doesn't. And I've never really understood why. But recently, someone apologized to me in a way that made me feel insulted. And now I think I understand a little bit better what makes some apologies really, really bad. Happy Thursday, everybody. It's Ptony, your friendly Catholic vlogger. Okay, so I've definitely hurt other people more than other people have hurt me. But a couple years ago when I was in Oklahoma, I found myself in friend circles with this lady that, quite frankly, I didn't trust. Let's call her Carla. And let's skip the details of why I didn't trust her, because those details don't need to be on the internet. So Carla and I are in the same friend circle, and I'm supremely uncomfortable with that because I don't trust her at all. But here's the thing, the reasons that I don't trust her are based on experiences that I had with her years ago, like before this friend circle even existed. So even if I personally don't feel comfortable trusting her, I also don't really think it's my place to advise our mutual friends to not trust her. So what do? Am I obligated to trust her because my friends trust her? I don't think so. I decide I can be agreeable without being close. As a peace offering, I offered to grab lunch with her sometime, and she politely declines, which was exactly the result. I mean, what better result could I hope for? Because, that sounds like agreeable but not close to me. Fast forward a little bit. This circle of friends becomes really close really, really fast. Of course, in itself, being close is a beautiful thing, but there were a couple hiccups. One very obvious hiccup for me personally is that I'm not looking to be in a close-knit group together with Carla, but whatever. Bigger hiccup for the group at large was there were some people outside of the circle of friends that were starting to feel excluded from the group. So here's a question. What responsibility do the people inside the circle of friends have to the people outside of the circle? That's a tough question whenever it comes up, and the answer to it can change a lot depending on specific circumstances, and I'm not really sharing many circumstances here. But for the sake of the story, yes, I personally believe that we did have some responsibility to the people outside the circle. Carla did not believe that. In fact, most people in our circle of friends didn't think we had that much responsibility here. Who was right? I don't actually care, nor does it really matter that much for what happens next. Someone else named Jesse stepped in to prompt us to be a little more sensitive to the people outside our circle. Carla didn't appreciate that. One fateful afternoon, a couple of us from the circle of friends were talking about what had happened with Jesse. Carla and I were both there. This is where I think Carla crosses a line. She makes some none too subtle sarcastic remarks, making fun of how Jesse had stepped in. Carla also throws in a few swear words for good measure. Well, I start losing my head a little bit at this point, and I decide I should defend Jesse. So I do, and Carla and I go at it. And very quickly the argument goes back to the whole broad question of what are we to do regarding the people who feel excluded from our group? I distinctly remember that I didn't actually share my position, what my opinion was, nor did I tell Carla that her opinion was wrong. But the point that I was trying to hammer down in that argument was that there are some people out there, including Jesse, who believe that our group needs to be more sensitive to people outside our group. In response, Carla called that flawed logic, simple as that. And that's where the conversation ended. I walked out at that point, and I remember feeling guilty because I always feel guilty when I get in a fight with someone. And I remember trying to think through, well, what should I have done differently? What should I actually feel guilty for? I can be very scrupulous and really, really hard on myself, and I can usually find something. But I remember thinking, I think I did pretty well here. Carla had been insulting Jesse behind her back, and the appropriate response was for me to sternly defend Jesse. I didn't belittle Carla or invalidate her position. I just defended Jesse. And when the situation got to a point where I didn't see anything that I could contribute constructively, I left. Honestly, for a guy that's normally paralyzed by confrontation, I'm kind of proud of that encounter. But there was some significant fallout from all that. I was no longer on the inside of that circle of friends. I don't resent that at all. I mean, it was an awkward situation. I was looking for a way out of the group already anyways, and there were a couple people inside the group that reached out to me afterwards, which was nice. Also, rather significantly, this whole charade with Carla thing, being nice but not being close, broken. It's gone. Now, is it a bad thing that this charade with Carla is broken? I personally didn't think so. In fact, I was looking forward to this idea of not having to play this charade. I was looking forward to the idea of keeping a respectful distance from this person I didn't trust. But then Carla approached me. "Can I apologize to you?" she asked. Okay, I said. "I'm sorry. I didn't know these certain things. I'm sorry, but I didn't actually do such and such. these other things. I'm sorry. What I actually meant was this other thing. Carla used all those lines, and they were familiar lines. They were lines that I've used many times before. They're lines that I use when I'm pleading with someone that I've hurt. They're lines that help me to explain why I did what I did. They're lines that help me to prove that what I did, yes, it hurts. But also it's completely understandable. They're lines that invite the person that I'm talking to forgive me. Now, Carla was using those lines. Those lines that I had used 1,000 times before. I could almost predict what words she was going to use before she used them. And they were heartfelt words. I could feel what Carla was feeling because I was used to those feelings. I felt those things before. But now I was listening to those words instead of speaking them. And as I listened, I felt a question rise up in my heart. Carla, but would you do it again? Everything that Carla was saying made so much sense. I'm good at seeing other people's perspectives. That's how my mind works. I'm good at pondering why other people do what they do, and not to say I get it right all the time, but I try to understand motives and try to understand why people do what they do. But in this moment, I didn't need Carla to help me see why she did what she did. I needed Carla to admit that she was wrong. All these words that Carla was using sounded like Carla was trying to defend herself. Carla had hurt me, and now she was asking me to admit that what she had done was reasonable. That's a very different sort of apology. So what can I do? Well, of course, I need to forgive her. And I take that to mean, at the very least, that I refuse to wish any suffering on her. I let go of that need that rose up inside me, that need that demanded that she be punished. I don't need that. That doesn't help. That's not good for anybody. And no, I don't want Carla to be punished. I don't think it's my place to figure out what she deserves for all that. That's between her and God. And not in a, well, I wipe my hands of it and God will smite her for what she should be smitten for. No, I mean, God knows her heart better than I do. God knows what she needs better than I do. God wants her happiness and God wants her joy. And from a distance, it's important for me to cultivate that desire for her too. I pray that we both end up in heaven one day. That's the dream. That's the goal. What else can I do? Trust her? I don't think I can actually do that. Nor do I think I really have any obligation to trust her, right? There's a certain pattern of behavior that she's always shown to me personally. And that's fine, right? I don't need to expect that that's going to change. In fact, I think it would be imprudent for me to try to trust her. I respect that others might trust her, and that's perfectly appropriate. And I can allow others to make their own judgment calls. But for me, I think the most prudent thing to do is keep my distance. And one more thing I can do. I can learn what it's like to receive a bad apology. I can learn that bad apologies hurt. They just add more hurt to the hurt that I caused in the first place. So the next time that I hurt someone and need to apologize, hopefully I don't apologize badly. Hopefully I'll focus a little bit more on admitting that I was wrong instead of trying to prove that I was reasonable. Hopefully I'll be a little bit more focused on the hurt that I caused than on trying to win forgiveness. Hopefully my apologies will basically be focused on the other person and not on myself. And to everybody that I've ever given a bad apology to, thank you for treating me better than I deserve. I expect I've given more bad apologies than I'll ever realize. I mean, I was wrong, and I couldn't even admit it. I'm sorry. And God bless you. That's a really heavy end to a video, and my closing tagline is whimsical. So I'm trying to create a little buffer space here. All right, Hopefully that worked. God bless and ciao.